Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on into the Blue Collar Psychiatrist. The title of today's video is Emotional Devastation. Today I happen to be watching a 25-minute episode of a long-running TV program. In this particular episode, the star of the show is going to attend a high school dance. He starts thinking about the past. He thinks about all the times that he had with his girlfriend from years and years ago through flashbacks. And then he remembers the fateful information that the girlfriend gave him, that her family was moving to California because her father was able to obtain work out in the West Coast. He could have, because at that point he was already 18, and back then in the episode that was a time when people could get married and did get married often, but he didn't do it. He had a rival for the attention of this particular woman. The devastation comes from not taking the risk of telling this girlfriend that he wanted to marry her, because it was very clear in that episode that they were very close. This episode reminds me of episodes in my life, because, as I have mentioned to you in other videos, when you see someone that might be of interest, you have to go after it. You have to make contact. You have to make conversation. You cannot allow shyness to destroy your life. In my particular case, as I have mentioned before, when I was 18 years old, my mother and I visited relatives in Florida. We were invited to a luncheon given by one of my aunt's friends. But the person there that did not speak a word during that entire luncheon was the person that I was interested in. It was the daughter of my aunt's best friend. I took one look at her and I thought that my head would explode. She was everything that I looked for, at least physically, in a woman. Now, of course, we always think about, we let our minds race to a point in the future thinking about how the marriage, if there was one, would have been perfect, heaven. We glorify what didn't happen. We don't know what would have happened. I don't know what would have happened had I been able to have access to her. I went back home and I thought about this young lady over and over and over again. All wasted time and energy, because I lived 1,000 miles away from where this very, very attractive young lady lived. But you see, as I look back, if I had the cojones, and I was very shy, as I have told you before, I was extremely shy. And as I look back, I remembered that although I had entered college in my local community where I was living, I could have either changed my college choice to a college in the city where this young lady lived, some 1,000 miles away, or could have just waited and then transferred a little bit later. But I didn't do any of that. And you see, people who take risks, I'm not talking about a risk that's dangerous. There was no danger here. I could have gone to that college. In fact, they offered me a loan. It wasn't a scholarship, but it was a loan, student loan. But it was very expensive. It was a very, very expensive college. And so what happened? Well, I stayed up north, 1,000 miles away, and she was at home. I had multiple chances because, as I told you before, I worked in a resort city where she lived, and her father happened to be the bellhop at the hotel where I was working. But I never asked him about his daughter. There's another chance. Missed. And then when you start thinking about things like this, and you are not happy with your life, or in terms of having found someone who would be for you, then you start thinking about, why didn't I? And I think that's very, very common. And ladies and gentlemen, the emotional devastation occurred when I had returned to the city where she lived years later. And we had both attended, but separately, the 65th anniversary or 65th birthday of my uncle who lived in that town. But I was smacked in the face when she and a young man walked in to that party. They were invited by my aunt. I can't even begin to tell you how devastated. I can't even begin to approximate the atomic, explosive devastation that I felt for not having taken action when I knew her, or when I saw her earlier, or when I was working for her father in the same city where she was working. It's just something that is horrible, and I know I'm not the only one that's gone through this, but the real thing that I want to bring home to you is, you see someone, you have to go after them. You see someone of interest, you have to make or show some interest. Start a conversation. And if you realize that you're shy, as I've said before, you need to undergo behavioral therapy to correct shyness. So yes, I was emotionally devastated because now she's been taken by somebody else, that boyfriend that she came into that party with. And I have no idea where she is now and don't know anything about it. It's the past. I know that. People say, well, it's the past and you don't know what would have happened. That's true. But the killer is never having approached her at all. That's the devastation that I want you to avoid, because you cannot live that way. You can't live that way. You will destroy your life. So I can tell you how to live by telling you what I did not do. That's the lesson. Don't let chances go by. Don't let opportunities slip through your hands. Go after what you want or who you want. And avoid recriminations and devastation emotionally about the past. Ladies and gentlemen, I remind you to drink, and drink abundantly from the fountain of life. See you next time.